Oh, What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dead Funny Podcast. I'm your host, Chris. Joined me today by my co-hosts, Kelsey, Mandy, Cody, and Bree. Today, we are here to talk about bullshit. Not really sure what's on the agenda. We're just going to
really good
with
at
the
that.
fucking flow.
I have something that I would like to add to the agenda.
No.
Is it
It's
bullshit?
important. Well, you're not going to be happy, Kelsey. It's about me,
Hell.
and it's about you, and it's about us, and it's about the game Mass Effect.
Oh my god.
Damn it.
Kelsey, do you remember the Krogoths? The Kroligans? Gosh. You know
No,
the
I know
monster...
what you're trying to say, but I don't want to help you.
Okay, the Rexians.
Yeah.
So, do you remember the mission where you find a cure for their horrible disease? And in the game about being able to make meaningful choices, you just have to kill Rex unless you've dumped enough points into Charm. That's a good moment for the game Mass Effect.
You know what?
That was sarcasm.
If you had listened to my instructions and you had talked to him,
Talk to
maybe
Rex.
done his loyalty mission, maybe done any of the things that I told you to do, guess what you wouldn't have had to do?
I didn't
And
kill Rex.
Guess what? You didn't?
No, I had high enough charm. I dumped all of... I when I started the game, I was like, well, there's charm and intimidation. I'm gonna be a good person. Bump, 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 bump. Max charm. And then found out later that that's the only way that you arbitrarily are not forced to murder your good friend Rex.
Nope. Not the only way. However,
No, I know there's the mission with the family armor. I talked to him 3 times. That wasn't enough. I needed to talk to him one other time to get the mission about the armor. But that's just dumb. Like, what difference does it make? I didn't want to kill Rex, but the game was gonna make me kill Rex if I didn't arbitrarily have charm. I didn't agree with what Shepard was doing. It's a role-playing game.
You didn't agree with talking this guy out of killing other people, and if he wasn't going to, killing him to save many other people? You didn't agree with that?
I think that we should have tried to get the cure for the genophage. It's like killing all of his people. He told us about it. It's like the one thing he cares about. And then we find a cure for it, and we're like, no, Rex, we have to destroy it. Mission first. We can give this no time. Like, could you have maybe appeased him a little? No, just... You go over and shoot him in the face. Like a dog with rabies.
Thank God you saved Rex, because I cannot tell you the cross-game effects that not doing that would have.
You know what, Kelsey? And that's the other thing. I believe you were right about that. I don't think you could tell me the cross-game effects of letting him die.
I think...
Right?
I can. There are whole web pages dedicated to it.
Yeah, but not the
game.
game.
What drives Cody in this is his desire to just shit on Kelsey every podcast.
Oh yeah.
That's what fuels him to go forward in this game.
Hang on though. All things being fair, the rest of that mission was pretty good. That was like the first time I've been invested in the game.
Oh, now that I say that comment, I
mission.
No. That's the second to last. That's Vermeer. That's the Vermeer survivor.
Yeah, that's right.
We killed Ashley on purpose because she's
the one to kill.
She was space racist, so we killed her.
Yeah.
Do you know what's kind of messed up though? You know those alien bug commandos? They all survived. The only person that dies is Ashley.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't help her? They just, like, left her there alone to die, I guess?
She probably made some xenophobic comments, and,
yeah, so I guess she deserves it.
You deserve to burn.
I got to have sex with Liara.
I'm proud of you!
Wait a minute, does that mean you finish the game?
No, we have, like, one mission.
Oh, jeez.
But
yeah, you can't have sex until the very end.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. I thought
he just said he had sex, though.
No, he's got, like, you have sex and then you go into the last mission.
Yeah.
So if he's had sex, he is on his way.
Oh.
Being launched into the world as a man.
It didn't, well, I mean, I'm playing
as... I don't like saying that. I take it back.
Well, I'm also playing as woman shepherd, so...
I'm definitely not saying it then.
as a woman now. But it was pretty
Flower
crazy.
has bloomed.
You know, ew, not what that
cry?
means.
Did you cry afterwards?
Huh?
I hate that.
Did you ask if I cried? No, I asked for round 2 and then the mission started. That was the best dialogue option in the game. Is for some reason after having sex, Liara's laying naked in my bed and I am standing at my desk fully clothed.
Fully clothed. It is very awkward. I'm like, all right, that's not weird.
And
Yeah,
she's like,
no.
Shepard, I'm glad we had this vulnerable and emotional moment. And I'm like, ready for round 2. And then the mission starts. And
So
no
to be
round
clear,
2.
is this game like blocky? Is it like a Minecraft type game where you're just staring at
No.
like box boobs
It's
or?
Not
No.
well, you don't get any boobs. There's 2 seconds of butt, and then there's a lot of soft focus, like people just moving in inexplicable ways.
You don't have like The Sims where it's just like underneath the bed covers.
No, you guys are like laying on a metal floor, and
Oh, yeah.
you
A
see-
metal floor.
She
Yeah.
doesn't really have sex because that's not really how
well,
it's basically a head orgasm, not a body orgasm.
that's
if that makes
not
any sense.
precisely true. Okay, they don't have to have sex to reproduce, but they can have some kind of physical intimacy through
Yes.
which they gain pleasure, but they don't have to do
Yes.
that. That's like
Yes.
a bonus, I guess, if they like the person.
Yes.
But I don't know if she's pregnant now.
I
like,
have
I don't-
always wondered that. I've been like, if you sleep with Liara, can she just be like, yeah, and here's a half shepherd? Like, is that possible?
Well,
I really
it's
hope
not-
she doesn't do that.
That's
I don't
kind of
know how she gives birth.
exactly. I imagine they molt their babies, you know, like they just like drop off like a little blob and then it grows into another
That's always
weird
what I kind of pictured too. Yeah.
bug alien. Do you
Kinda
think
like
that Liara's a
sprouting.
sociopath? I don't think she's capable of like feeling anything. I think she's a
Oh.
monster at heart.
Oh, please keep playing. I beg of you to please keep playing.
Well, I know she's also I was talking to someone, I think it was Dylan. Do you meet Benezia's like ex-boyfriend later in the game?
Well, since it's a race of only women, yes.
That's stupid. Why would Benezia need to have a... That's not what her character was in the first game. Anyways, it doesn't matter. We can move on past
It's
this.
not a big deal. Like, it's not just like, it's just like, oh, yeah. Like,
I
it
don't
is
know if we can
completely-
move on past this.
I mean, we can.
Huh?
We
We
definitely
probably need to.
I don't know
because
if
right
we
now we're the
can.
only ones who know anything about it.
Wait, say that again?
All I said was, I don't know if we can move past this ever.
Yeah.
Well, it's on the forefront of my mind.
and he's bad, and we disagree, so.
So
The game got
I
better.
We
have
is a
been-
very strong word.
have been playing a new game called Moonlighter. I don't know if you guys have played that. That fucking game is amazing.
Moonlighter.
It is so
What's that?
good. It's an
That's the shop one, right?
Yes, dude. It is so good. It's a dungeon crawler. So by night, Kelsey, you go in the dungeons and you fight these monsters and you kill them and you take the loot to upgrade your weapons and armor. And by day, you're a shopkeeper selling the exact same loot you were down in the dungeons collecting the previous night before.
And this is fun. Why?
It is so much fucking fun.
Oh,
I
it
don't
look-
know.
It looks really cool. I like
It
the
is
graphics.
a real it's made by a studio I've never heard of before called 11-Bit Studio. And yeah, it's a really fucking fun game. You also get
How'd
to
you
build up
find
your
this?
town and stuff. It was something that's been on my radar because whenever they release new games, I always look for like the most talked about RPGs, and it was
Mhm.
this and Octopath Traveler. So we're like the two talked about RPGs that were coming out for this year, and so I've been wanting to get it, and then they just released it for free on Xbox Game Pass. So-
Oh, the Epic Game Launcher also had it for free. That's
Nice.
I played it for like 10 minutes one night because it was free, so why not?
Yep.
Epic Game Launcher through what platform?
Oh, on PC.
It's
Yeah.
PC. Okay.
Yeah, if he's talking about a launcher, he's talking about PC. But yeah, so yeah, Moonlighter, really fucking good RPG game. Really enjoyed it.
I found out I sucked at that game as soon as I started playing it.
Well, you do know that
There are learning curves.
Yeah.
You do know you're like supposed to die in the beginning, right?
No.
Okay,
No, I
I'm just making
understand
sure.
that.
Okay, because like when
I
you
mean
get in that
later on.
last room and you're fighting like fucking 50 monsters, and they never close the portals, and they're just constantly funneling in, and you're literally sitting there with nothing but a broom, you're not gonna win. I tried. I probably killed like 10 beasts, and then finally was slain. Like, I tried so fucking hard to stay alive, but that wooden broom is only gonna get you so fucking far. So yeah, it's funny because, like, in my opinion, I think they're making a stab at a lot of other RPGs in that game too. Because, like, the first thing that happens, like, you wake up outside and this old man's found you, so he takes you back to his place, or not his place, but your place, and then, like, you wake up and he's sitting there, and he's like, you need to stop messing around. An old man
takes you back to his place?
Well, he was, like, best friends with your grandpa or some shit. Your grandpa went to the dungeons, he's never come back.
Okay. Oh,
so
that's not fun.
So, like, he's like, you need to stop messing around with that broom. Da-da-da-da-da. It's just going to get you killed. And he's all like, it's dangerous out there. Don't go alone. Take this. And that's, like, literally the first line out of a Zelda game. It's dangerous.
And then he
out
just
there.
gives
Don't
you
go
a
alone.
gun.
No, he gives you a sword and a shield.
Sorry, that was Enter the Gungeon. Same game, different thing.
That reminds me,
cool.
Dave Chappelle was so good. I don't know why. You started talking about
sense.
guns and all of a sudden it, like, popped into my head. His comedy show.
It's completely
Gonna slide
out of
on
nowhere.
past everything about what you just said.
like, not even close. Yeah, I will second that. Dave Chappelle's fucking newest stand-up fucking was amazing. That's my
I'm
favorite
sorry, it
fucking
was really
movie, so
random,
it
but
was
the
really
gun
good.
thing reminded me of it.
I heard it was terrible. Is that something I should go back and watch?
It depends on if it's your comedy or not. If it's your kind of
Right.
humor. Dave
Is it
Chappelle
stupid
has
humor?
no. He's actually extremely intelligent with the fucking jokes that he creates. Extremely intelligent.
You could take it as stupid.
I think that
Maybe.
there are he's not against being. I don't know if harsh is the right word.
Vulgar.
I'll put it this way.
Crude.
He's the firefighter of comedians. He runs towards topics that everybody else runs away from.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put that. He is literally not scared to touch those topics at all. And he does it multiple times and gets shit on for it multiple times. And then starts his next special talking about how those specific sets of people are upset because he made jokes about them, and then continues to do it. So it's pretty fucking hilarious in my opinion.
Yeah, he basically touches everyone.
Yeah, everything. Well, nothing is off the table. It's pretty good. So yeah, he was back in the day. I watched some of his stand-ups when I first was getting into comedy. And then the Chappelle Show came out, and like I was like, "This is my favorite fucking comedian. Like, this is just my favorite fucking comedian." I've watched everything he's ever done since then. I like Kevin Hart.
His
a lot,
early
too,
skits are
but, yeah.
great. They're
His-
so funny.
Damn it, he's the best. Literally the best. But yeah, his newest one's on
I don't know.
Netflix,
It's really
Six
refreshing in a politically correct world. Like,
Yeah.
we have gone so far down the spectrum. It's so nice to watch. Just something that makes fun of everything, and he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. my favorite
Takes
line out of that
The
one.
internet blows.
A favorite line out of that one, his newest one, where he literally is talking about how people were offended. He goes, "Remember, you guys watching at home on Netflix, you clicked on my face, motherfuckers." It's like, I mean, he's got a point. He's got a point. But yeah,
I might have to go back and give that a watch.
it's pretty good. I also heard really bad things about Bill Burr's latest stand-up that came out too, Paper Tiger. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was his best.
I think every
But I
time a
enjoyed it.
comedian comes out with something on Netflix, the internet has something to say about it. Because
Probably.
it's like you can rewatch it and you can pull out bits and make them look really bad. Because I swear, because I heard the same thing about Dave Chappelle's, I heard the same thing about Bill Burr's, and now I don't have as wide of a range of comedians that I enjoy. I'm pretty like John Mulaney is the shit, and I'll watch a couple others. But like, I just don't believe. Like, I'm like, you guys are just nitpicking at this point. Comedians are going to be doing their own thing. It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Bill Burr. Okay, I couldn't remember who Bill Burr was.
Bill Burr's the shit, dude. I like Bill Burr a lot.
Also,
like
I
Bill
started
Burr a lot.
picking up John Mulaney's stuff just because you like him, Mandy, and I'm like, I trust Mandy. Mandy's. There's certain people who'll be like, hey, why? Well, this is both horrible and racist, and I don't
Cody.
want any part of
What?
this.
No, all of the comedians I like just don't tell jokes. They just stand awkwardly on stage.
Yeah, you suggest very weird
Oh
things.
my
and they're
gosh, but you
awful
need to
What
on-
does that even mean? They
Oh my
just
gosh, have
stand
you
on
watched-
stage?
Have you
What it
seen
means
Tig
is-
Notaro's?
Yeah,
No.
Tig Notaro's whole thing is I, to this day, do not know if she regularly forgets her own jokes or if she's just playing a joke on the audience. because she just plays it off in the same tone of voice
I
that
can't
she
stand
does
it.
everything.
Can't.
So I was watching her on live television go up to the microphone and just go, she started a story, got halfway through it, and went, I forgot the end of this joke. You're all laughing like you think that this is the joke, but I actually just forgot the end of my joke. I still don't remember it, so I still can't tell. And it was like halfway through. And then she just walked off stage. That was her thing. And I'm like, yep, this is my favorite comedian. I found her.
That is rather strange.
She is her delivery.
Special is very weird. It's
last
strange.
15 minutes she spends tricking the audience about whether or not the Indigo Girls have come to play at the end of her show. It goes on for way too long. And I loved every moment of it.
It's awful.
She's
God,
great.
Chris,
Why?
he gives you a recommendation, walk in knowing it's probably going to be garbage, and he just wants somebody else to talk to him about it.
No, I think Tig Notaro is actually one of the smartest
Oh.
comedians I've ever watched.
Wait a second, Cody. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite.
Because you said it. I think you said it like before, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, he's just like Brandon." I think you're kind of
Rubber.
like Brandon.
He's previously
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
because
You know,
we-
Well, I like Rubber. Rubber is not my favorite movie. I think my favorite movie is Speed Racer.
No, Cody. It's okay. We know you're on the same level as Brandon now, so we understand why you like that comedian. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, no, look, there's comedians that I like because they are bad, but Tig Notaro is actually a good comedian. Like, I don't want to give her.
It's her own. She just has a very interesting style of delivery, and I enjoy the here is the story with some jokes, but here is the punchline, and you're going to laugh at it the whole time. And Tig Notaro's like, I think this is the joke. I think. Okay, there's a joke in there.
I'd be
guess
great
was
at that.
funny.
Goddamn.
Do you ever watch Maria Bamford? Have any of you ever watched Maria Bamford?
I don't watch comedians honestly, so
Oh, you gotta get into some Maria. Just watch Old Baby. It is my favorite stand-up special.
I like how just thinking about it is cracking you up.
She is so weird. She sounds like every Minnesotan mom ever. That's the accent she has.
Is that where the raccoon line comes from?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Cody quotes that line all the time.
I am raccoon.
She talks about how she's a raccoon because she leaves trash everywhere.
She leaves open pop cans all over the counter and cans of pop with one sip of takes one sip then just leaves them and goes away. And her
you can't leave
husband's
soda
"Why?"
open. They stain. That's a huge thing. You can't leave soda sitting around. Water bottles, that's different. But soda, you knock it over, it stains the carpet. It's all downhill. It's all downhill, Cody.
She's
Can't
a
do that.
raccoon. That was the whole point. Yeah.
Leave soda laying around.
One of Kelsey, just so that way you kind of get it, because this is actually a topic that we talked about not that long ago on a podcast, or actually kind of was a little while ago. But Dave Chappelle.
Just so Kelsey gets it, no one else.
Well, I mean, Kelsey literally basically sounds like she has never seen anything Dave Chappelle wise, and Mandy and Cody have made it clear that they've at least seen something, or at least know of who this man is.
Yeah, no, I mean,
And
I
Kelsey
when I
has
was
no
growing
idea.
up,
So
Chappelle.
yes, that Brie, what I said was correct. Anyways, as I was saying, he talks about the fact of this whole Twitter outrage that's going on, where people are calling some people out for shit they did fucking decades ago, and he's all
boo.
so he starts out with talking about he starts out with talking about I'm gonna be doing something different tonight I've never done before. I'm gonna do impressions, and so his second impression he's just all boo, I hate you, and no matter what you do for the rest of your life, I'm gonna find one bad thing you did and ruin your entire fucking career. Boo. And he's like, who am I? And the entire audience is just you're Trump. You're Trump. And he's just I'm you, motherfuckers. That's who. All of you sons of bitches. He's like, this shit has gotten out of control. He goes, fuck, I didn't think I did anything bad, but I guess I'll just have to wait to find out.
I love that joke. Oh my god.
He's like, Fuck, I don't think I did anything bad. Guess I just have to wait to find out.
Jeez.
That's a good point though, Kelsey. That's what Dave Chappelle is. He like
shit.
takes the really controversial topics and makes you think about them.
It's so good.
Like you think he's on your side, and then he just switches it,
Yeah.
and he makes it seem like it. Like, talk about the baby one, Chris.
I don't even remember the baby one. What baby one?
Yeah.
There's so many jokes, Bree. There's so many jokes.
But he was talking about like I'm for.
Oh.
Against.
Oh, that one? Yeah. It was like the whole like abortion, for abortion, not abortion. So he starts out with the whole like what was it? He started out with saying like I'm against abortion, and like this one dude in the crowd's like, yeah. And he's like, calm the fuck down. I'm also not against abortion, all right? And he's like, I feel like if you have a dick, you should just shut the fuck up about this, right? It's their body, it's their right. He goes, and they should be able. Yeah, he actually, it was pretty crazy because he goes, not only do they have the right to do it, I also think that they have the right to not have to consult anybody about it besides the physician, so that way they can exercise that right. He goes, now that is
and all
fair.
The females start freaking
And
out.
all the females start freaking out. He's like, now that is fair. And he goes, now women, if you decide to exercise that right, and that's fair, if you decide to keep the baby, I think it's fair that the man should not have to pay. And then like all the women start going boo, and he goes, oh, so you can kill the motherfucker, but I can't abandon it? What kind of bullshit is that? And I went, lost my fucking
My
shit.
God.
Right?
Whoa.
Lost my fucking mind. It was so fucking funny. It just came out of left field. Like he was doing it as a speech of like he fucking support this, and then bam.
He'll make
It
you
was-
think
oh,
he's
it's
on
so
one side,
fucking
and then
funny.
he'll go to the other side. He makes very interesting points for both sides, and it just makes you think.
Yeah.
It
pretty
Sounds like he's probably an intelligent guy who understands the arguments of both sides
interesting.
and really wants people to stop just screaming at each other and would rather have them have conversations that are intelligent and like exist in that gray area. And he's using comedy to break some of those boundaries down.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But that may be giving him way too much credit, given that Cody is now just like
No,
smacked his hand
it
into his
just-
face.
It reminded me of something that happened to me this past week that now I want to talk about.
Oh, Cody.
So, y'all know Joe Rogan?
Yes.
The Joe Rogan?
Oh,
Yeah, I
Yes.
love some of the clips from
okay.
Joe Rogan.
Okay, here's my problem with Joe Rogan, right?
Uh-oh.
He is agreeable and nice when he interviews people, and he does a good job interviewing people. But there is a point to which journalistic integrity, if you want to pretend to be doing journalism, requires you, I think, to call people on flagrant lies and not assist them in telling complete and total fabrications just because you're being nice. So he had this guy on his show
Joe Rogan would
called,
be nice though.
huh?
Joe Rogan's not a nice person.
He's very nice to everyone he interviews.
Yeah, I
He's
don't know.
extremely
Oh.
nice to
Yeah.
total liars. Just people. He had this guy on whose name was Bob Lazar. He says he worked in Area
Bob
51. Okay, sure, Lazar. I want it to be Laser. Anyways, so Bob Lazar comes on and fumbles through his interview with Joe Rogan. Meanwhile, Joe's sitting there like softballing him questions, guiding him through his points. So when he gets lost and confused because he's just lying on repeat for 2 hours, Joe's sitting there like, so you were saying about the gravity machine that has fuel in it, right? And he's like, oh yeah, the fuel. And then just starts lying. So I actually Googled the guy who says he worked for Area 51. He also says that he got a master's degree at MIT and a PhD from Caltech. The reality is there's only ever records of him going to junior college in the 70s. And then he says that the government wiped out all of his other records and that's why they don't exist, not because he's a liar. Also, the only other things that you can find substantial about him are he owns a business that sells hobby-grade radioactive material, which is a real thing. He was arrested for shipping firework parts across state lines, and he got busted for prostitution. That's Bob Lazar, who Joe Rogan, with no criticism, had on his podcast, just blathering on about all the UFOs he worked on. And I'm just like, Joe, Come on! At some point! Like, I could go on your show and say this crap, and I would sound smarter than this guy. What the heck? He's just like, yeah, Area 51, crazy. Like, no, do not give this guy any credibility. He's lying.
I mean,
don't
my
know.
guess would be is that he didn't know.
Well, it's more along the
How
lines.
could you not know?
It's more along the lines. I don't think it's that. I think Joe Rogan is a very smart and intelligent person. I just think it's more along the lines of Joe Rogan just gives the same respect to every guest that comes on his podcast and just lets them fucking babble for 2 hours.
I don't think that's right.
I can't. Well, I've watched a significant amount of Joe Rogan's podcast, and I mean to completion. We're not talking highlights. I'm talking to completion. I can't think of one time where he has ever just went back and forth with anybody the entire show on a podcast. Not one time. And he even had Alex Jones, who I think is a fucking insane individual. Like,
what are you talking about, Chris? Cow-human hybrids are real. It's the brain worms that the Illuminati are using soccer teams turn into cow people. It's the reptoids, Chris!
Exactly.
So what I've heard is Joe, and I watch a lot of his stuff too. I watch more motivational things, but like,
oh gosh,
the reason that people like him is because he's basically a learner. And even if he's learning false information, maybe, I don't know, I haven't done the research Cody has, so I'm going to trust him more. I think that that's what he's there for. He's there to just learn and listen. He's not there to judge the people.
I think there's specific podcasts he's just there to listen.
You're there to judge. You can judge him and you can hate him, but Joe Rogan literally, I think, does the podcast the way he does just to listen to people.
I've seen him get like mad and call somebody out a couple times, and that's like when they literally talk shit about a previous guest that was on because of something they said.
And I think part of it too is like, so when you're doing a podcast like that, like journalistic integrity is not your number one priority. He's doing it for entertainment. Like if we're being realistic here, he is making an entertaining podcast. And I agree with you. I think there is something to be said for him being like very middle of the road and letting people decide what they think of this person. But I mean, why else have controversial people on your show? It's just like, people are watching that Alex Jones interview and being like, this guy's nuts.
But that's the thing, though. If he's not sitting there
watching it,
if he's not sitting there combating Alex Jones on everything, he's just letting all of Alex Jones be like exposed to the public. So then, like, people who literally just sit there and go, "Oh, I've heard a lot about this Alex Jones crazy shit. Let me just watch this Joe Rogan podcast." They get a solid 2 hours of the shit that Cody was just spewing out for a solid 10 seconds.
That interview is 5 hours long.
That interview was long as shit. It was
It
really
is.
good.
Wait, is it seriously
I'm pretty sure it was like
5
4. It was like 3 to 4 hours.
Okay, wait, now I gotta know.
Alex Jones.
And he was on 2 episodes. He was on 2 episodes too, by the way.
Oh,
Are we talking about Alex? I thought we were
Alex.
talking about the other guy.
No, the Bob Lazar was 2 hours. Alex Jones.
The one where he returned was 4 hours and 40 minutes.
Yep.
The one where he was with another guy, but it was 3 hours and 43 minutes. So it's like beginning of February and end of February, 2 interviews. They got a solid 8.5 hours out of this guy.
I could not.
A guy that I work
It
with.
was pretty entertaining, honestly.
It is.
He gets extremely pissed. Obviously, I mean, if anybody knows anything about Alex Jones, you know.
Have you ever heard
But
Alex Jones, Kelsey?
The best
Just
part
enough to know
me,
I don't like him.
The best part to me is when they had that other guy on with him, and that other guy is a flat earther. And to watch Alex Jones lose his shit because he believes in flat earth, and it's like all the shit you believe, and that's where you lose your fucking cool, was fucking phenomenal, dude. That was
he
so
believes in
fucking
aliens. So
Well,
you
he's the
can't
type
have
of guy
aliens
to
in
get
flat
mad
Earth.
if you don't believe in what he believes in, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so funny because Alex Jones like, I'll fucking kickstart it. We'll get you a fucking ship. We'll sell you around the fucking world so you can see it's not flat earth. He's like, well, I'm not going to go, but you can pay somebody to go. He goes, no, I'm not going to give you a chance to back out of this. Like, he was just like getting like really aggressive with it. And Joe Rogan just fucking laughing his ass off on the other side of the table. It's so fucking funny.
There's a part of the interview where Alex Jones starts screaming at that guy, choke me out! I want you to choke me out right now!
Yep.
It's fun! Choke me out! Like,
Yep.
what is happening?
It was pretty good shit.
Entertainment
So I looked it up, right, and then I got sucked into a news story that is Joe Rogan completely loses it again during Marathon Joe Rogan podcast. Or sorry, Alex Jones loses it.
Oh, I was like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, but he loses it on the podcast. The very last quote. So apparently they got in a fight after the second interview at the end of February. And Alex Jones says, quote, "I never want to talk to Joe. I never want to see that little demon, that leaking butthole."
Oh, but that's what I was gonna say is that Alex Jones, Joe Rogan considers him his friend, but when he came onto his podcast, Alex Jones had lied because he watched some of the clips before. I can't remember what they were discussing, but that made him really mad, and he didn't want Alex Jones to come back onto his podcast. So that's why I think that Joe Rogan didn't know maybe that much about that guy, Bob Lazar, because he doesn't like it when people lie, and he doesn't let them back on his podcast usually.
But he has so many people on.
I know.
That lie. It's
Wait.
like,
I thought you meant
every single fucking athlete that's on there is like fibbing for like half the fucking.
Do you know how many people lie every day, Cody?
All of us.
I do, but like I don't know. It kind of
yeah.
touches on a tricky thing of like entertainment news, kind of, or entertainment journalism,
Yeah.
where that line gets so fuzzy that it starts to disappear. Like at some point, things like The Daily Show or the Joe Rogan podcast should be held accountable for the content that they put out and act like our facts.
Okay.
Because they are putting on the facade of journalism.
But
I don't
The
know where
Daily
you get
Show-
that though.
The Daily Show actually acts like a news show.
Yeah, where Joe Rogan
So there
shit
is a little
like,
bit of journalistic integrity, and their interviews are not news shows.
One, it's
No,
always been
they're
said
not.
it's an interview. Two, it's always been called a podcast. And three, anybody who can literally look at the Joe Rogan show and see that on the table is nothing but alcohol bottles and fucking weed everywhere, and it's going to take any fucking story that comes out of it seriously, deserves to believe in anything that comes out of Alex
I
Jones'
don't
mouth.
know, but
There's a reason
I mean,
you don't see our tables.
I totally agree. In some cases, people being called out and like
Right. Sorry, Kelsey.
like like yeah, I agree that at some level that would be nice, but it's obvious Joe Rogan's not looking at it as a journalistic opportunity.
that kind
No.
of just means he's Jerry Springer then, you know?
Yeah, it's
Basically,
entertainment though.
the way that I heard it from Joe Rogan's mouth whenever he talked about his podcast one time during a thing was that he just wants to bring interesting people on so that way they can tell their stories, and then he just knows a little bit more about that individual. And that's why he has so many fucking different people on. Like it's
He's a
literally
student.
all
Like I
walks
said
of
earlier,
life.
he likes to learn.
All walks of life.
So I do agree. Infotainment is a really growing, a fast. Wow, goddamn words are hard. Sorry, everybody.
Kelsey, put the blunt down. Fuck.
Infotainment is a quickly growing form of media,
Mhm.
and I've been really disappointed by certain places that I expected to find quality entertainment, quality information that was fact checked and real, and I could look back in this and go, I actually learned something that was fairly represented, and I can now make decisions off of this. And the problem is most of infotainment is, in my experience, and Mandy, you can confirm or deny this based on your actually much greater knowledge in this area, most of it still has a pretty significant bias, and the information that you receive is put through a sieve to not be fairly represented. And there are certain shows where that isn't true, but I'd argue the bulk of them, you're going to get information that is put in a bias that leans towards the direction you already want to lean and the way you already want to see it.
That's great.
The one that upset me the most was actually the BuzzFeed one that was on Netflix for a while, where they were doing shorts where they went all over the world and told these short stories. And they only told a piece of the story, and they only asked certain questions when they interviewed, and they definitely biased the stories in such a strong way that I went, hey, this already leans towards my bias a little bit, like this particular story, and I know you're not giving a fair representation to the other side. I know enough to know that, and it's really disappointing, and I don't know I think that's one of the places where we're losing the journalistic integrity, but that's also one of the places where people, as they run away from news going, oh, that's super biased, they're running to infotainment, not realizing it's equally as biased.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is I think for people our age, probably more of them would listen to Joe Rogan's podcast than would watch cable news.
But see, there's the issue with that, though, is regardless, no matter where they go, it's going to be biased, right? That's 100%. Sure. But that's anybody, and if this offends people, I'm sorry, but anybody that wants to go to a source of infotainment, understanding that the ending of that word is coming from entertainment, and wants to get your solid facts from there, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know.
Well, but I think it's more complicated than that. I don't think people's opinions are formed by them making a conscious decision to say, I'm going to go gather my facts now. And then they like go on a spirit quest where they gather their facts. And then
that's the spirit quest. That's what I do.
Their solid opinion that is not based on anything else. And then they can go and watch all of these fake news. And I literally mean fake news, like as in they are meant to be a joke news show and not have that impact your opinion. Our opinions are formed by the jokes that we hear, by the way people are portrayed in everything that we watch. Even if we're being critical about those things, the way they present certain people is going to bias the way that we then view the world. So I do think there is some responsibility on these shows that talk about these topics to do it in a mature way, I guess, or to at least give it the gravity that it deserves. Because, like, okay, so here's, to me, an example from the Joe Rogan podcast. I watched an interview that I loved. He had Jake the Snake Johnson on his podcast. He's an old wrestler whose life fell apart, and then he cleaned up and was on the thing. Yeah, obviously not everything he says is going to be true. Joe Rogan didn't jump down his throat, but he's like a real person that had real experiences that were horrible and then came on the show and talked about them. And they're going to be biased because it's a nice interview and he's not calling him out, but it's real stuff. And then you stack that up next to, here's Bob Lazar, I'm going to come on your show and lie for 2 hours. And they're given the same amount of credence in the show. And that's where I just get weird with it. It just feels like at some point, people that are obviously lying are not interesting, other than this is just the Jerry Springer Show Part 2, and he'll have anyone on.
But
entertaining.
But person like Joe Rogan, for the fact that it gets you away from stuff like news that's really biased, really censored, and you see Joe Rogan start to not to include those kinds of people, including anyone, but then eventually he weeds people out. Really, then it becomes more of a biased thing.
I look at it this way: if Joe Rogan has come out,
doesn't become more biased if he's pushing people out.
I mean, technically, I guess it really depends on the situation on why people are getting pushed out. But the way I look at it is that if Joe Rogan has come out at any point and has claimed that his podcasts are like a place for you to gather information or a place for you to learn, then sure, I agree with you. As far as I know, Joe Rogan is a comedian. That's where he came from, as being a stand-up comic before he went to Fear Factor. His shit has always been about entertainment, and I completely believe that his podcast is about nothing but entertainment, and the fact that he literally has nothing else he wants to do with his life.
Plus, he's friends with Alex Jones, so that does say something about him.
Not anymore, apparently.
Apparently, Alex Jones thinks he's a leaking butthole, so you know.
Well, I mean, I saw I think the podcast I saw was after that because they made up. So I don't know if.
Oh, that was after the second podcast.
Okay,
so
that was after they made up.
After they made up.
Oh,
yeah,
butthole.
Well, I mean, I do want to say this though. He could have a very successful podcast where he calls people out, because who's really gonna pick a fight with Joe Rogan? Dude used to be an MMA fighter. Like, the dude's fucking built. The guy hunts for his own fucking food. Like, the dude's a fucking...
He does?
Yes, he does. Like, he literally has a bow, and he's just out there hunting for his own fucking food and shit. It's fucking crazy.
Now he seems Ted Nugent-y.
It's fucking awesome. And I'll put it this way, like, I've seen him, like, straight up, get into conversations. Like, I don't know if you guys ever watched him, like, fucking talk shit to Carlos Mencia for the fact that he was stealing other comedians' jokes and shit like that, which at the time Joe Rogan was a comedian and he was not about that shit at all.
Yeah, I
He
have mixed
confronted him
feelings on that
at
one.
an absolute, like an actual fucking comedy show. Like
Yeah.
Carlos Mencia was on stage and Joe Rogan stormed his ass on stage.
Whoa.
I was like, yeah, like got in his face and all kinds of shit. Like he didn't fuck around with that nonsense. Which, by the way, that was actually another funny part about the Dave Chappelle stand-up, because he goes to tell a joke that was said on Twitter by Kevin Hart, the one that got him, taken off the Oscars. And he goes, I'm paraphrasing here. It might not be as funny because, believe it or not, I'm not gifted telling other people's jokes. So I was like, that was pretty good. I like that.
That's good.
But yeah, so I think he could do a pretty confrontational podcast and it'd be pretty fucking successful, because it's not a lot of people are going to try Joe Rogan.
Well, and I'm sure it would be successful because it would be... And that's where, like, I respect the tone that he's putting forward as being a little bit more respectful, and it's more of a conversation, and it's not just people yelling at each other, and I respect that. I think it's hard to say that it is not meant to be an informative podcast when you have, like, presidential candidates on your podcast.
Yeah, but at the same time, you got to look at it this way, too. Are they actually campaigning? Are they just...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, being on Joe Rogan's podcast is absolutely...
I understand that there's a second thing. I'm talking about during the actual show. Are they actually campaigning? They're marketing their campaign.
I would say
they're
that
physically talking about their political office.
Any presidential candidate that is awake right now, every moment of their life is campaigning. There's no distinction.
I understand that. I understand that using his podcast for the viewers to get his name out there versus him literally talking about his campaign on the podcast and Joe Rogan just letting that go. I find that very hard to believe.
Well, but I think what it is not them specifically talking about the campaign. I think it's about them humanizing the person. Because, like, okay, if you watch that John Mulaney special, he talks about Bill Clinton and how cool it was to watch him on I can't remember the show. It was out in the late 80s, early 90s, but there was a show where, like, Bill Clinton wasn't talking about running for president, but, like, kids were asking him, like, what do you like? French fries. Yay.
Oh, is it like the Kids' Choice? Or it was like some Nickelodeon thing or something?
No,
like
there was actually like a talk show that, like, a lot of kids like to watch, but, like, he played the saxophone. So it's like that humanizing thing is a thing that sticks out in people's mind. So getting on any kind of thing that's going to show, like, oh, here's how I am as a person and not just as a political candidate is kind of its own form of campaigning.
I get that, but at the same time, that was what my overall point was in the begin with, is that if they're physically not where they're supposed to be and they're just on a podcast, don't they really have the right to just fucking, hey, I'm a fucking person, I can talk? Because at this point, I mean, technically, I should do nothing but talk about fucking safety supplies because I'm on a podcast, and this could technically be fucking put somewhere where people can be like, oh, that dude's on a podcast, I want to buy safety supplies from him. But I'm also a person outside of that also deserves my own right to be able to talk about my thoughts and what I want to talk about with the people I want to talk about it too, regardless of whether it's not.
Yeah, I don't think politicians...
I understand that politicians are dirty, and I understand that politicians have their own agenda, but I feel that if anybody should get that right, everybody should get that right, regardless of what their secret agenda is. And I think Joe Rogan is giving them that right. Whether they choose to do it or not, that's a different story. So I don't think you can blame Joe Rogan for the fact that it's entertainment / information that might not need to be digested, because once again, he's giving it to everybody. It's not like he's just bringing politicians on. He's had comedians, politicians,
I totally
athletes,
agree with you.
I
totally agree with you in the sense of politicians. I think it's just like they're kind of in an unfair boat where everything's going to be scrutinized. Like, they can't go on the Joe Rogan podcast and try to be themselves and make a super racist joke, and because the next thing it's going to be everywhere. But for everybody else, yes, I think I agree with you that he's just trying to give them that voice. But the question then becomes do you really want to give a platform to the guy who thinks he worked in Area 51? Or like,
right. And I understand that too, but that's where I'm talking about, where it's like everybody does deserve a voice. And it's not necessarily like Joe Rogan's giving them a platform. He's just bringing people on to fucking talk. Whether people watch it or not is legitimately up to the user at the end of the day. It's up to the user. I mean, if you can watch something and hear somebody talk about working at Area 51 and you choose not to turn it off because you think it's nothing but lies, at the end of the day, it's kind of on you.
Yeah, well, I mean, right, any amount of fact checking is at some point a little bit the responsibility of the person viewing the media, and being responsible about what stuff you passively take in and accept is important, especially when you're on the internet, right?
And like I said, I agree with you. If he's out there saying that his show is informational and you could pull solid facts from it, I completely agree with you. 100%. If he's not out there doing that, and I've seen multiple podcasts where they're not placating that whatsoever, they're just literally starting a show and just talking and from start to fucking finish. I mean, I don't see a difference between that or Rooster Teeth's podcast or
I don't know.
podcast.
I think fame takes a certain amount of responsibility eventually. Like, there's a cost to being so ubiquitous like Joe Rogan's podcast is. It's like, what, one of the most popular podcasts, right? Like,
see, I agree and I disagree with that notion. And the reason why I disagree strongly with that notion is because it's not like no one walked into fame. They busted their ass to get there. They still deserve the same rights to do what the fuck they want to do outside of that fame. So Joe Rogan's not fucking coaching MMA fights, and he's not doing Fear Factor, and he's not doing comedy stand-up shows. Goddamn.
Standing comics.
And he's literally paying for his own fucking podcast. I think he should deserve to be able to do what the fuck he wants on his own podcast.
I don't know. I don't know. It just, I think at some point then that becomes the value judgment of the podcast, is when someone has this thing that realistically, if we're being honest with ourselves, some people are going to look at as information, even if that's irresponsible. Sure. Mm-hmm. And it is hugely relevant in the conversations of probably, especially like what 18 to 30-year-olds probably that watch it.
Probably.
Like, I think at some point, if you ignore any responsibility that comes with that type of success, that just does, I think, devalue the thing itself a little bit. But it's tricky. I agree. It's
at the end of the day, it's opinions. Everybody's got them.
Yeah.
Everybody's got them.
I think there's responsibilities on both sides, and we can make the argument in either direction that, well, the public can listen to whatever they want to listen to, and it's not really my job to curate any of that. And you make the argument that, you know, the people that get to like make stuff get to do whatever they like. You can make the argument for it's not my job in both directions, to the point where everything that you have for information or entertainment is completely like, it no longer has any actual credibility or water either way. So you're right, it is opinions, and it's a challenging situation to try to put morality into either of these industries.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
Now, once again, I will say this: not like Joe Rogan's my favorite podcast or anything. I do want to out there. I know I'm campaigning,
but you're listening to like hours and hours.
Look,
Chris,
there was a time. There was a time when I used to drive for my job.
That's what I wonder. Where the hell did he find this time? I
used to have to drive
he wants
for
us to
my
office
job.
like 20 billion times. Explain to me where he gets all this time.
There was a time where I used to have to drive for my job for hours.
You can burn through audiobooks that way.
You can get bored. No, Cody, I can go burn through my informational educational podcast.
No. I wasn't saying that in a judgy way. I was saying.
I know. I'm fucking with you. I'm just fucking with you.
No, I mean, I listen to garbage audiobooks. They're not like quality. They're just like trash romance.
If it wouldn't have been for Kevin Hart, if it literally wouldn't have been for Kevin Hart being on one, I probably never would have watched the fucking Joe Rogan podcast. I literally saw a clip of Kevin Hart being on one. I was like, oh, Kevin Hart, I like him. And I literally listened to the highlight of it, and I was like, well, I'm watching that fucking podcast. So I went and watched that episode, and then it was like I just started looking for all the ones that had comedians. So it was Bill Burr had a couple, so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, cool. Ooh, Elon Musk, he's an interesting guy. Let me hear what he has to fucking say. And it just became
go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it just became a rabbit hole, and I went fucking face first into that fucking thing.
Speaking of this, guys, I'm an accountant and I work with numbers all day long, and I absolutely sometimes have to have like music or something else going on, because just like numbers and numbers and numbers and numbers and numbers and numbers, like my brain will just explode. Like eventually it gets super numbing. I this week found a wonderful podcast that I'm not going to say the name of, I don't think, but it's all riddles.
I don't think.
It's all riddles.
Maybe she doesn't understand the name. Maybe that's what it is.
No, the name, okay, fine. The name is Hey Riddle Riddle, and it's absolutely fantastic because it's 3 comedians that are genuinely funny, and they're all telling each other riddles back and forth, and they're just like, I do not fucking get this. And of course, like, I've gotten it. I'm just like wanting to scream it at the computer like they're gonna get it. And it's so much fun, and it's so engaging, and it's ridiculous. And I need Cody to listen to it and tell me what he thinks. Mandy, I want to know what you guys think. But guys, riddles are the best.
Why would you want me to listen to something you like? Why is that the goal?
I don't get that either.
She's gonna get you to like something eventually.
Like at this point, I could give two shits whether or not me and Cody like the same thing. I would get the same satisfaction of him liking something that I like as him never touching something that I like. Literally the exact same thing. If we go the rest of our lives on this podcast, or this channel, should I say, with him never touching any piece of fucking Final Fantasy VII, I consider that a win. That is a fucking win. Easily.
Don't worry. I think I would literally get through about 2 minutes of Final Fantasy VII before I'm just like, nope, too much reading, power off.
Completely fine with that.
It won't be reading anymore. It won't be reading
anymore. It is for me. I don't have a PlayStation 7. I don't like PlayStation.
You gotta buy it for Final
Don't you have a
Fantasy VII.
No, I have a computer.
That's not. Well, she's talking about the remake. The remake is only coming out on the 4, and that's what he's talking about. Is the remake is only coming out on the 4?
Yeah.
Yes, the Switch has the original, but that once again takes the use of reading in order.
Which we also don't have a Switch.
Oh, PC, same thing. It's all on the same boat. It's all that thing is on every goddamn platform now. So
I did start a similar type of game, you know, like it was a JRPG, you know, just because I was looking for a game to play, and I read so much crap, and I was just like, no. It was like I would take 2 steps, then 15 hours of dialogue pops up, and you can't skip it. You have to read it at the pace they've decided. And I'm like, I read faster than this, and I'm also not gonna read all of this. So it would like pop up and start scrolling through the dialogue, and I would just start watching something else. And then I'd be like, oh shoot, I have to keep
JRPGs.
Yeah, and then I just quit. I was like, this is so terrible.
It is a
I would not be able to play that.
It is a wonderful world. That is Final Fantasy 1 through
all of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's just
no 13. 13 has speech.
Cody, why do you love
That's 12 does too.
Romance novels? Romance novels are formulaic and terrible
and cheesy.
Okay, so not all romance novels are formulaic and terrible. Some of them are. I listen to all of them. I don't.
Hold on, are you getting the ones with the covers, like the big man with like the buffy chest and the girls all like?
I have, and you would be shocked how little that relates to the quality of the book. That is to say, I have read a good romance novel that was just like ripped chest. And it was called, like, Sucking the Highlander or something like that.
Cody, you have given me my thumbnail for this video. I'm gonna put your head on a really, like, buff, romantic bare chest.
Which, like, if there's a genre of romance that I do not understand...
Joe Rogan Sucking the Highlander.
I don't know what it is about Highlanders and finding them attractive. I never realized that was like a thing.
That's a thing.
But it is a huge genre of romance fiction. Is just like the night I spent with the Highlander and me, in the Highlands, the lady in the Highlander. I slept with this Highlander one time. That's
it's also all about like there's also a significant amount of like Highlanders or like guys in kilts.
Yeah,
which it also falls into.
Oh, it's just all of that. I don't know what it is about. Anyways, that doesn't matter. So I've read one of those that was good, and I've also read a romance novel that was called like Accidentally Stumbling, and it was garbage. So it's like, you know, and it was like a picture of a flower on the front. Huh?
Is that the one with the siblings?
We don't have to get into that one. We don't.
Well, now we know why there was an accidental stumble on that one.
We don't need to get into.
Oh, kill or be killed.
Kill or be killed?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I looked up Highland or like kilt romance novels. Kilts and Daggers, Kill or Be Kilt, Must Love Kilts. These are amazing.
Look, I got.
Oh my god!
Look, I get off of Dark Star content in order to not have to deal with these fucking shitty puns. All right, I don't need these.
You don't want to deal with a Highlander Christmas?
No, I do not.
Gosh, why are there so many of these?
So I'm just imagining Cody getting off of work and going into his car, and his friend, like his coworkers, are going to lunch with them, and they all get in the car, and all of a sudden his romance novel just pops up in the car, and they're like, "Grab me, kiss me on the lips." That'd be great.
I got
Everyone
one.
I work with knows this about me. It's not like I don't tell people.
I got one more. It's getting Scott in here.
Oh
Jesus
gosh,
fucking
those are
Christ.
fake.
It's
those have
getting
to be-
Scott in here, so take off all your kilts.
That's definitely not my
I
husband's
am
name.
getting so Scott.
It is really tough though, because like romance, if you like just go to your library app on your phone to download an audiobook and you're just like romance, sort by random, download the first one, it is really a crapshoot. The kind of
Yes!
nightmare stuff you can find.
I am now extremely excited for Kelsey and Scott to show up to my Halloween party because I am paying him some fucking money. And he is getting
To
me
wear
some
a
footage.
kilt?
No, he is getting me some footage of him trying to do some fucking pickup lines whenever Kelsey walks through the door, or some fucking it's getting all Scott up in here and shit like
Oh,
that.
good Lord
Oh
Almighty!
man.
What if he did turn on some music, the music of that song, and he just started going, "It's getting Scott in here,"
Guys,
Scott's about
and
to
he
make
starts
some
like
money.
taking off his clothes?
Scott's about-
literally,
I'm about
all
to pay your next fucking rent bill, Kelsey. That's about to fucking happen.
I'm sorry, Kelsey. I found that pun extremely hilarious and did not think.
You know something? Scott is not the person I know that I know has worn a kilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually know a kilt guy.
Yeah,
Why
That's
can't I think of
Scott.
his name?
You definitely know his name.
you
I just don't
100% know
say
his
it.
name. You frequently
like-
get pictures of his child.
Oh, no, okay. It's a guy named Michael. He actually like went out of his way to go to Scotland to get a kilt, like, because his family's like Scottish.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
And I was thinking of our joint friend Eric, who
Oh.
adopted and figured out he either has Scot blood or never really likes it, and like learned how to play the bagpipes. And
So he was like, wear a kilt.
yeah,
If
and
this makes sense, then I definitely have Scotland.
He was in like
my
a
background.
marching. He was in like a marching bagpipe band.
How
yeah,
did I
the
forget about
band that performed in The Dark Knight, the movie, the bagpipe band that would like walked along, that was his bagpipe band. He was in college at the time, so he couldn't do it, but he like that was his band.
Forgot that
he
was a
played
thing
with.
in The Dark Knight.
Yeah, when
I gotta watch that movie again.
Officer What's His Nuts fakes his death.
What's his nuts?
Yeah,
See that?
Chief
I love it
Gordon?
when I
Chief
love it.
Gordon,
It's Commissioner for the
Commissioner
love of God.
Gordon, whatever.
I mean,
Is it
holy
Commissioner at that
fuck,
point?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe yes. If Batman's there, then yes, he's Commissioner.
No, in the first movie, he's not a commissioner yet. He's a sergeant.
Well, that's bullshit.
Oh, so we're all wrong.
I'm not. I
Great.
disagree.
I love watching Cody's face as he was like pulling facts out of his ass. Like, it's
Because
Sergeant. I know this, but I don't know how
He
I
was
know
like
this.
You know-
chief and
you know that
sergeant and all
that's
that
not
shit
his ass,
whenever,
Kelsey,
whenever
or-
Batman was still like a fucking kid. So definitely is Commissioner. 'Cause he makes
Well, no,
Commissioner
he was a
multiple times.
uniformed officer when he was a kid. He was like a beat cop.
Bro.
Have you seen the movie? Like, what are we talking
Bro.
about right now?
Not only have I seen the movie, I've read the comics and watched the TV show. Fucking come at
Well,
me.
those all have different canons, Chris. And
I
half of-
understand that,
Yeah.
Cody, but even in the goddamn TV show, if you want to put TV to fucking movies, he starts off as a beat cop whenever the parents are dead. He doesn't stay that way. He moves to a fucking detective, and then he moves to fucking all these other goddamn titles.
Now you got him yelling, Cody. Now
Fuck!
you got him
Well,
yelling.
just say it if he's gonna act like he knows stuff and then just not even know
You son of
the
a bitch.
progression of chief,
And not-
sergeant,
And not
chief
even
officer.
fact check. God damn,
Right?
Chris.
Okay.
Just saying, this is how these conversations should go. Pedantic. That's what they need to be.
Hard pedantic.
That's what our discourse needs.
But that's the word of the day. Bikes.
Bikes?
I mean, I don't know if you're trying to say something offensive and the podcast is just choosing to censor you. But,
I was trying to say folks.
I mean, fuck.
Dude, I can't say words with this like headset on my ears. I don't know what it. I like.
I mean, don't
What
you
you
game
fuck
like
up?
all the time?
And I fuck words up all the time, and people are like, "Why do you fuck words up?" I'm like, "Cause I can't hear myself."
I think
I
it's because
mean-
you don't talk well. I think that's
I can hear myself pretty fucking well right now. I don't know what your problem
Anytime
is.
I like move my headset, I can hear myself. I think I'm partially deaf to begin with. I think that's part of the problem.
Very possible.
I mean, you do know that there's this thing called like we physically can't see your earmuffs because of the fucking mop head of hair that you have there. So you can easily grab one of those muffs and pull it back off of your ear just like this and hear yourself and just at the same time and no one would know. Right now I'm doing it and everybody knows because they can see my ear. They can see
Cody, you laughed a little too hard at that.
It's just so mean. None of us could see your headphones through your stupid mop of hair. Wow. Tell us how you really feel, Chris.
He's being passive aggressive. Yes.
But...
He's being passive aggressive.
That's just aggressive. Passive aggressive would be like,
No,
I
he's
wish
being
my
passive
hair looked
aggressive
like a
with all the
ragdoll.
problems he has to deal with my hair.
It's very true. It's very true. Oh man.
oh gosh.
It's nuts. But yeah, if you do that, it would help out. That's all I'm saying. Then you can hear yourself and you can hear us.
How about this? Fuck you.
I mean, that's fine.
That seems fair too.
Well,
That's a work
That was
resolution.
pretty fucking aggressive. Like, this is a hostile work environment now, and I don't think I can work in this environment anymore.
HR? HR.
I do this shit at work all the time. The moment someone raises their voice, I'm like, okay, I gotta go home. This is just way
This
too
is
hostile.
harassment.
This is I am
You can't
offended,
deal.
and you're not even talking to me.
It doesn't count as harassment if it's a client.
True. Fucking true. Oh god. Why did I just get so upset? Oh, because we talked about Batman. Batman, the fucking movie sucks.
I like how he can feel his
Dark Knight
blood
is
pressure
trash.
lowering, and he's like blacked out via rage. He's like,
Wait a
what
second.
brought me here?
Are you talking Dark Knight the second movie or
All
Dark Knight
three.
the third movie
All
or Dark
three.
Knight
They're
the
all
first
terrible.
You don't
movie?
like any
All
of them?
three. No, I don't.
I
Mandy.
liked the
The
first
one with
one.
Heath Ledger was good.
Mandy, let me tell you something.
Heath
all right?
Ledger was good.
I've had
Yeah.
this conversation with multiple people, but I don't think I've had it with you yet. If
Okay.
I wanted to see a realistic Batman fight realistic fucking people, I'd fucking put on a goddamn costume myself and go out and get my ass kicked. Like that
Do
would
you
be
know
more
that's a
entertaining.
thing?
That would be more entertaining to me. Whenever I literally grew up reading comics with Batman fighting Bane, who's like the size of a 3-story building, and now I've got fucking Bane, the football jock. I don't care. I physically don't give a shit.
My favorite Batman is definitely 1960s Adam West, so who am I to judge? But no, I get that.
Animated series
Animated series is good
is
too.
first, second, third, and fourth place.
No,
I
Adam
like how
West
he
is too
very
hokey.
coolly like pulled his mic closer with his arm, like animated series.
The best
I know
part
he was
is,
like,
is that is completely cut off. So you literally brought up something that no one else can see besides us in the fucking
Well.
That's okay. He's been flapping his hands in front of my face this whole time.
I gesticulate when I talk. All right,
gesticulate.
that's a
I had
word.
somebody
You
at a
guys
workplace
need to stop
actually
doing that.
confuse, like this. They were just like, "You're so frantic as a person," and I'm like, "I am many things: intense, driven, focused. Frantic isn't one of them. How
Emotive.
do you get frantic?" And they're like, "You're always this with." So I'm an extrovert and I talk with my hands, and they're like, "Yes, it's very frantic. It scares me," and I'm like, "I'm not going to hit you." I'm not frantic. This isn't panic.
I
This
don't
is me
know.
getting my point across.
I don't
I'm
know.
not
I feel
slapping
like
you. It's okay.
I feel like the long amount of time that we've been working together on this channel, you seem pretty like frantic, irrational, emotional, like 24/7.
Yes.
I can hardly
Those
ever
are
deal
good
with
words
you.
for me.
Ever.
Yes.
It's nuts. It's
Kelsey,
nuts.
yeah, Kelsey's hit me a few times too. She's really
Yeah,
aggressive.
no, I
It's nuts.
fear me.
I feel like we're getting a lot of dirty laundry. in This talking about mop hair, and then just out of nowhere, Bree's like, "Kelsey hits me."
Stop
Okay,
talking about my mop hair. Appreciate it.
just saying, this is getting weird. I'm getting uncomfortable.
Oh, this is
I think
this-
I need to talk to HR.
I mean, people are gonna know what they're getting into.
Are we making Breezy our HR? I don't know.
I
Who's
don't
our
know.
HR person?
Maybe.
I think it's me. I've just decided it's me.
I
It's
don't
one of
know
those-
if I like that
it's one
idea.
of those where you just take the role. It's like no one else has. It's like, it's mine now. It's fine.
Can we veto this?
Yeah,
No.
vetoing
Oh.
this.
No, you can't. I'm the HR person. You can't veto this.
If you do
Damn
that,
it.
that is literally like a hate crime towards Cody, and you get in trouble for that. So you gotta be careful.
Yeah, I'll give you an HR write-up for saying I'm not the HR person.
If
Oh, I
don't-
want Cody in charge of Chris's HR. That will be amazing.
I did that to a
Fucking
coworker one time. He said something mean to me, and then I wrote him an email that said you have to report to HR for sensitivity training from Cody, head of HR.
How'd that go over?
He was sitting right next to me. He laughed about it.
Oh, okay, good. I wasn't sure if he actually had a panic attack. Okay.
No.
That's pretty fucking funny. Yeah, if people don't know what they're getting into with this podcast by looking at the apparent thumbnail that you're planning on doing for this one, I don't know. What else
The
to tell
bodice
about
ripper thumbnail. I'm so excited.
And then they're gonna tune into like 30 minutes of Joe Rogan
podcast.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about bodice rippers that much.
No, we really didn't.
What a shame.
Damn, I'm so
I just like
heartbroken.
reading stories about people kissing instead of stabbing each other. At some point, I get tired of everybody dying and I just want them to kiss. So I listen to a lot of romance novels.
That is definitely
It breaks
up the
monotony.
About that.
Or you could watch it happen. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, I do watch a lot of romance movies too, but Mandy doesn't like them, so we can't watch them together. So I just watch romance movies alone.
The formulaic chick flick is so
I love
obnoxious.
chick flicks. They're not all formulaic. Some of them are
You like
good.
Twilight?
No.
That's a complicated question.
They like mocking
Watch
Twilight.
50 Shades. Bad.
Well, it's kind of like asking me if I like French fries. No, but I eat a lot of French fries. So, do I like French fries and I'm just lying, or do I just regularly consume something that I don't like, or what is it about French fries that makes me keep eating them? I don't know.
They're bad
But-
for you, and you're addicted. Addicted in a sense. You like it.
That is a great way
No,
to
Twilight.
explain Twilight, I guess.
All
I
of
don't know.
that
I've
to
never seen it,
Twilight.
but
Yeah.
What'd you say,
Twilight's
Mandy?
not challenging romance, but it is there and it's hilarious. And then people do kiss, so it has that appeal.
And great
Kind of.
acting. Great
I
acting.
think Cody just
Well-
has like some fucking desire just to watch random fucking people kiss. I think that's the
Okay,
only thing.
no.
'Cause you
Oh my
brought that up,
gosh,
like,
I
multiple
do
times.
though. I played this game called Tacoma. No,
There you go.
hear me out here. This is not a good impulse, but it's a true thing about me.
Oh,
I played this game called Tacoma, and it's not really a game. You just walk through the story. But the way it works, you're on a space station that records like a rough hologram of every person on the space station.
Mhm.
And it records that for like the whole time people are on the station.
Mhm.
And then when you get there, you can re-watch their conversations and them moving through the ship. So it's basically just you can go around and eavesdrop on people throughout the history of this space station. And
Oh,
then you
interesting.
also get to sneak into their bedrooms and rifle through all their drawers. And I was so hooked on that immediately. All I want to do is rifle through people's drawers and eavesdrop on their conversations.
Hold on. What? Why would you say that out loud?
Because it is absolutely true. And it is totally unacceptable to actually do.
so
But
do it
I-
in a video game.
But I get why we have to say that that's a rule, because otherwise I'd be rifling through drawers.
Good lord.
Mandy, do you got a lockdown on this man?
We lock the doors at night, not for.
Yeah,
not
she
for
has
other-
to.
And he just doesn't know how to
Yeah,
open this thing.
other
I don't
people.
get
Well,
it.
no, the locks are on the other side of the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on
Came
the
in.
outside of the door.
This is maybe not a great thing to admit, but it's also not
sh-
that bad. But I think this
Oh,
is the
sorry.
creepiest thing I've done in terms of this.
Oh my gosh.
My first
Edit it
apartment.
out.
Yeah, because virtually living it wasn't creepy enough. But
Hang on. Well, that was the mechanic of the game. Okay, so the first apartment complex
I don't think that's
lived
gonna
in.
hold up in court, dude. I'm just.
It
throwing
was
that out
like
there.
these two giant towers that I lived in, right? And they faced each other. And I lived in a room
I already know where this is
this
going.
window faced the other tower's wall of, I mean, hundreds of windows, right?
Yeah.
So what you do is you just shut off your lights and just stare out your window and just watch what everyone else is doing. And I did that a
This
lot.
is a game?
No, this was my real life. This was a hobby.
So what kind? You had to saw some kinky things then.
No,
That's what some people
nothing. Like literally, because who has sex with their windows open when they know there's a giant tower of people looking in at their window? So everyone had curtains. I just watched people making dinner, but I watched people making dinner.
You sound like a goddamn psychopath. I just watched people making dinner.
So what's changed is that instead of watching people through their windows cooking, you now just watch YouTube videos of people cooking.
Well, yeah, I do that, but that's for different reasons.
It's not as much.
Is that what YouTube was back in the day? Basically, Cody's so old that was his version of YouTube back then? Is that what you're saying?
Cody's like, one day, this will be access to me, and I won't feel weird and ashamed doing it.
Oh, gosh.
I will be able to watch people cooking in my own home instead of watching people.
This is why my dream job is to be a private detective, I think. Like, if I could have one career, private detective.
Cody,
I want to get paid to
blow
creep
my
on
mind.
people.
God damn.
Podcast
Okay.
with you. My
You
mind
can
just
tell me.
expands.
Honestly, you don't see any appeal in creepily creeping through people's windows.
I mean, if that is fucking Bree's thumbnail, I mean, that's the fucking title of this podcast, is I like to watch people cooking through their window. Or no, the way you
what the
said it was
thumbnail
worse.
was.
I like to watch people make dinner through the fucking window there. God,
I mean,
damn.
how can you not? It's
Watching.
the most interesting thing I can imagine.
All I would like to
mean-
point out at this point is if there's any kind of law enforcement that is watching this, Kelsey brought them. I have nothing to do with any of this.
She brought them into the fold.
Don't come talking to me first. Kelsey is the person to talk to. I'm just going to direct you right there.
I also was not aware watching through windows was a part of his hobby.
after
I don't
she got
like
married.
do it anymore. I live in a place where I looked out the window. There was an equal window right across from me.
Doesn't make it any better.
Did you find any other people that were just like sitting in their darkness watching your building? Like,
That
was
would be
that a thing?
amazing.
You know, I don't actually know if I did. I don't remember. It was almost 10 years ago. No, not that.
I would so love if you just looked across and like two darkened window creepers made eye contact and they're like, I was cool until you saw me too, and then it's
We're
over.
done, and then the curtain comes down.
Well, you can't see through a window if the so that's common knowledge. That's not creepy to know.
You're not helping your case.
Saying,
I'm saying if the if the binoculars are in one hand, I don't want to know what's in the other. That's
I
all.
have never used
Okay.
binoculars. I had a
It's kind of
That's a
like people
joke.
watching. People
Sure.
do people watch
It's kinda, yeah.
it like outside in the restaurants. So
Yeah, I would do that. Never mind. I was just gonna talk about how I have had the thought it would be fun to stalk somebody, and then I'm like, wait, no. Like, not consistently or seriously, just like pick someone and see how long you could follow that person.
Cody, get off this path. Get off this path. Stop going down this rabbit hole.
I at least recognize it's unhealthy and don't act upon it. You know what I mean?
Once again, Kelsey brought them to this channel. I cannot say that enough.
I like them. They're funny.
I literally.
Am I just a comedian to you, Kelsey? Is my life a joke?
Every now and then, yes.
I don't know if I would say joke at this point. It's starting to turn more into a thriller. I don't know what the.
That is like the plot of every is some creeper sees a murder and then can't call the police because he'd have to be like, well, I was watching in the window, obviously.
See, I feel like that's exactly what the creeper murderer would say. You see how he quickly put it on somebody else versus he's the creeper murderer that's watching people so he can get their schedules, and I don't know, what was it? Casually stalk somebody until he gets caught?
Well, no, that's like a famous Hitchcock movie, is that like a guy who I think is in a wheelchair and spends all his time doing exactly what I did, like witnesses a murder happening in the building across from him. I can't remember what it's called now. Is it Rear Window?
Don't ask me.
No, it's not Rear Window. Maybe
No
it is
idea.
Rear Window. Anyways, it's a famous Hitchcock movie.
That no one knows the title of.
I'm a Hitchcockian hero. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
I don't think that phrase has ever been used before, and I'm not sure that it should.
Hitchcockian most certainly has.
Hitchcockian.
It's not his fault that he has cock in his name. He's a famous director.
Yes, he is.
He's culturally relevant.
I don't know if
Guys
I would
like
say
North by
relevant anymore.
Northwest.
Not sure relevant can be used with that name anymore.
Hey, I watched North by Northwest a bunch in Psycho and
That's fine.
Charade.
But once again, relevant is a completely different term.
I would argue it's culturally relevant.
Yeah, like birthed a genre of movies, so yeah.
It birthed a genre, and it's in the background of many different, it's in the background of a lot of entertainment, and so you may not know Hitchcockian references and things like that, but you do, so I would argue he's relevant.
We've learned so much interesting things today, but we gotta wrap it up because this girl's gotta go and stream.
Well, before we wrap it up, I would just like to point out once again, law enforcement. Kelsey is now providing alibis for this man, so I'm just throwing it out there. Connection is there.
Yeah.
I know we're trying to wrap up, but I literally thought, why are you going swimming?
Oh, you thought I said... Wait, what did you think I said?
You said go. You have to go in a stream, and I'm like, why would you go?
I had to go and stream.
I didn't know why you would go in a stream.
Yes, because in October, where she lives, she's gonna go jump in.
That's not even the worst part. You guys are focusing on the worst part. Bree literally said, "Why did you think I said I went to go swim?" She literally started the word swim and then stopped herself and said, "Wait, what did you think I said?" That happened. That happened.
I think we could excuse most of what Cody said this episode or thought this episode from the fact that he's been getting up at 4 a.m. to go to work the last
I've been sleeping 2 hours a night for 5 days straight. Yeah, I'm a little weird.
So it's a weird podcast tonight.
I love how the end of the podcast is Mandy being like, please do not judge my husband harshly. He is not what he seems.
Do you know the cool thing about people on the internet? They're not real people, so they can think whatever they want of me. I'm never going to talk to them.
I mean, there is some truth to that. So, but anyways, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this podcast. So if you enjoyed this content, make sure you like and subscribe. Also, hit the notification that way you can get notified every time we upload another video. Hit us in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts, how many people you've stalked in your life, how many windows you've briefly looked out of.
Please do not tell us this information. We do not want to know.
I'm just letting you know, YouTube monitors all the comments. There might be people knocking on your door. That has nothing to do with me. Dead Funny is not at fault for anybody that gets arrested by the end of this, you watching this podcast. I'm sorry. No,
it's our disclaimer.
Yeah, it's our disclaimer down here at the bottom. Fucking legal facts. There we go. Cody's HR. He's legal.
Huh? Oh yeah.
Multiple departments. He wears many hats. But anyways, we also have our direct forms of communication down there with our Twitter links and also our Twitches, so that way you can watch people stream, like Bree stream. By the time you're watching this right now, it'll be Monday and she will not be streaming. But get ready for the weekend because that's when she does stream. So just throwing that out there. But at the end of the day, hope you guys have a great rest of your week. We will see you next time.